Hi everyone, welcome to the Gateway API meeting for August 19th, 2024. As always, it's August 20th for me. This is a Kubernetes meeting, and that means we abide by the Kubernetes Code of Conduct, which translates to be kind to each other. We've got not all that much on the agenda today, so please feel free to add. I've pasted the agenda into the comments. And and can you also please make sure you drop your name in the attendees list so we can keep track of who's coming to which meetings. And with that, Rob, you want to?
Yeah, sure. So this is, I guess, as per usual now, just as we're running through everything that is related to release cycle 1.2 is top of mind. We have a release schedule. Well, no, our next phase ends August 28th. So that is, depending on your time zone, approximately 8-9 days from now. And that means anything that is not merged by then as actual code is not making it in terms of API changes. So that includes everything that's new to experimental and everything that's new to standard. We technically have 4 of each. But there's also some other things I wanted to cover here where there's gaps that are moving ahead in experimental right now, but getting to standard in the next release. And those also, I think, are targeting meaningful updates in this release that we're trying to hit by that August 28th deadline. So first up is name route rules. That's already in, thanks to John and Guy for getting that together. I don't think we have any docs covering this, so that is a gap. I will try and reach out to one of John or Guy, or anyone on this call wants to volunteer. That's great too. If you care about name route rules, this is a gap. Percentage-based request mirroring, good to go. Well, that should be good to go this week. Back in MTLS, that's on Marcin. I'll chat with him. I feel fairly confident that will get in. Configurable retries, I checked in with Mike. He's aiming for a PR this week. Timeouts should be almost good. We have a PR. Thank you, Christine, for running this one. That's for duration parsing. I think this is almost good. Christine, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that like Flynn has done a lot of review on this one. I
Yeah,
think you've resolved everything.
he just didn't want to like stamp it because he also is doing the Rust and the Python one, so he just wanted to get another maintainer's set of eyes on it. So I think it's
Yeah,
good
well,
for review. Yeah, so
awesome.
This is on my
And
list
I
for
think
today.
that great. I think that's the last bit for this gap to make it in, which is awesome. Thank you, Christine. Um, the backend protocol stuff, thank you to Dave for being ahead of the game on this one. It's good to go. In cluster gateway config, similar, is one PR open. Keith, I think this is too late for Keith to make this call. Um, but
Yeah,
the
there's a
PR
CI file.
exists.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there is a CI file on it at the moment, though.
yeah. Um,
Oh, that's
and
just to
then,
remove. So the infrastructure types are in. The implementation here is just removing experimental.
yeah, yeah. Actually, maybe this is a docs one then. So yeah, okay. I can move that after. Uh, Candace, I've seen you've been working on conformance today. It sounds like you got a bit stuck on getting tests to pass.
Yes. I have that. I have a note later to talk about it.
Okay,
Just a few
great.
things I'm not familiar with. Wondering if it's anything I can change or if there's some inconsistency or I don't know. I don't know what the deal is.
Yeah,
Have you
I
ever?
mean, Yeah, happy to help. And I'll say that Go module, Go dependencies are among the most annoying things to debug. So I feel your pain to an extent. So yeah,
This one is,
hopefully.
yeah, this one is a verify shell script that's not ignoring the vendor directory. And the vendor, it's a YAML verify, and the vendor directory has a bunch of YAML.
Yeah,
That's
it's
not.
verifying all the Travis files in every module that we import and stuff like that. Just looking at the things that Candace just posted in. Yeah, I thought that should have been skipped. So yeah, so I don't think that would have been something that you've changed, but I don't know how how it changed. So yeah, I think that's definitely worth having a look into.
I'm a little curious. It may be that. So a lot of our verify scripts just do not work well outside of the pre-submit they are intended to run in, or outside of a very few specific environments. So maybe like, I don't think I have vendor set up in my gateway API. Like, I don't know. I don't know what this
Okay,
is.
yep.
But it's also been a long time since I've tried to debug this.
Yeah, we can talk about this later or offline if that makes more sense. Don't want to take up too much time, right?
Yeah, I don't think we have a hugely packed agenda, so I suspect we'll get to it soon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do the rest of these things, Rob.
Yeah, I mean, actually, on that note, we're about done for this. The implementation is good, and so Lior just needs to do a docs update for support features. I don't know if we have any coverage for that, but another thing I want to make sure we're better at in this release is having docs associated with each feature as we're releasing instead of a few weeks after we release. But yeah, that's everything. So still work to do. If you want to help get this release out, I'm sure there are ways we can. There are plenty of areas that could benefit from help. I think you'll see the recurring theme is docs, docs, docs. So if anyone wants to jump in with helping document any of these features, I'm sure that would be very welcome and appreciated. Yeah.
Yeah. About that last supported features one, it looks like Leo very helpfully opened a PI to Cilium, and that has merged. So Cilium now supports the new version of supported features. Cool. But yeah, so that comes around to my one. Let me share the screen. So yeah, the labels that we have in infrastructure labels currently do not use the standard label label validation, which is different to the annotation validation, helpfully. So yeah, we need to tighten the label validation to be the same as the upstream one, so that the labels validation is correct. So yeah, technically this is a breaking change because we are tightening validation. I don't think it will be a problem because the only place where you're going to be applying these labels is in Kubernetes, where it's going to use the upstream label thing anyway when you actually try and apply it. So if currently you can set labels that will fail to apply when your controller tries to apply them. So this is just going to make it so you can't do that.
So we should probably block Keith's PR. This is part of the infrastructure stanza that Keith is trying
Yes.
to get standard. So
Yep.
we need to block
Yeah, okay.
that on.
Yeah, let me just go and make a link between the two now.
Yeah.
Yeah, good point. I mean, it doesn't block it, or it's not a hard block. It's a
Yeah, we just need to resolve it before we graduate. Like it can
Yeah.
be in the same release, I think, but it
Yeah.
just and honestly, if he wanted to solve that issue in this bump, that's probably good.
Yeah.
Um,
Cool. Linked at least.
cool.
Cool. Yeah, so it looks like let's before we talk about the CI thing, Candace, let's talk about Gaurav's item, and then we'll come back to the CI thing. Oh, yeah, right. Okay. I haven't finished reviewing this. Sorry. I got a bit into it, and then yeah, it's a big PR, so I haven't finished.
That's completely fine, Nick. So as it stands right now, the PR is still huge. I
Yeah.
have made an attempt to kind of split it into separate commits, but I don't think that is anyways going to help with
It's not going to help that much. Yeah.
reviewing any kind of logic or stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I was hoping something along the lines that uh, let's try and catch any obvious red flags or any things which definitely shouldn't be there. For example, like me adding some kind of backdoor or something like that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I think I will try and give it like a quick pass, and just sort of check for obvious stuff. But I think, like, realistically, this at this point, Gateway Kettle, like, I don't know the code well enough to give it a detailed review, and I don't really have time to learn at this point. I was going to take months for us to get this PR in. Like, to some extent, I guess we're going to have to trust you. But we'll go through and check like for obvious stuff, like you said.
Yeah, I added I started a review a few days ago now, sometime last week, as my lights go out. And yeah, I just left those comments now because I had every intent of getting back to review sooner and didn't. So at least those comments are on the PR. I will try and get back to it sometime this week. But yeah, I really appreciate this. I think the other thing I would recommend, I will try and do this myself, is just trying to test it out manually and work with it to see if the code actually works the way you'd expect manually. That's going to be because, yeah, there's so much code here. There's going to have to be some level of just, I trust that it works. Yeah.
Yep.
Gaurav, what are your thoughts on, I think we've talked about this sometime recently, but it seems inevitable that Gateway Cuddle does get pulled out of Gateway API, the repo. Do you want that to happen post 1.2? Or like what's easiest for you as primary Gateway Cuddle owner?
So what I had in mind was that at least one release we could do which is still tied up with Gateway API, because that is how we will get more visibility into this. And after you have some minimal level of visibility, then we can separate it out onto a different repo if that's required. So, okay, so what that means is that if the changes, or if we plan on rolling something out with 1.2 with Gateway Cuddle, then that means post 1.2 we'll try and see if a separate repo makes sense. And if this doesn't get into 1.2, then it would be nice if we could have, whenever 1.3 rolls out, or okay, if it doesn't get into 1.2, I think then we are looking at a different timeline. So I guess.
And I feel like it's not like at the moment that we're expecting Gateway Kettle to really abide too much by the Gateway release cycle.
Okay.
Already. I feel like
Yeah,
to me, it feels like it almost would be better to split it out earlier rather than later, so that when you give your talk at KubeCon, you can say, here's the repo, come and help in the same way that Ingress to Gateway has. That
Right.
said, I think that Ingress to Gateway has been struggling a little bit with, it's been going well in terms of people adding features, but we don't have that bigger community around that tool. So, I mean, that's the risk that we're taking by splitting it out into a separate repo, is that people who are involved on one of the tools then sort of are not also working on the spec. I mean, maybe that's good, maybe that's bad, I don't know, but it's sort of, it is different. Like, you're not watching the same repo. I tend to think that it's probably a net win separating it out, because it becomes much easier to release versions. We can, you can iterate very rapidly, and have a homebrew formula and build packages and all that sort of stuff much easier than you can when it's in the main Gateway API repo,
True.
which is vital
Yeah.
for a tool like this. It needs all of the automation and all that sort of stuff that we can give it.
That's true.
Yeah, I was originally on the side of let's include this, because my rationale was that if we keep it inside Gateway API repo, it means that we can require GEP authors, whoever, to also add support to, Gateway Cuddle, like as part of approval, right? I think as the focus of Gateway Cuddle has, I don't want to say shifted, but it has maybe expanded. A lot of the things that are in Gateway Cuddle aren't necessarily unique to a specific field or feature, right? They're broader in concept, so they're tied to policy attachment, they're tied to supported features, they're tied to a few things. I don't know. I guess another point that could be messy is Gateway Cuddle would probably end up with a unversioned dependency on, basically a commit SHA on Gateway API, because it's always trying to be at latest. That would be a little messy. But on the whole, I think for the reasons Nick mentioned, specifically around setting up support for Homebrew, for Go Releaser, for all these release automation things, a separate repo is often easier.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
being able to, if we want to have Gateway Cattle be available as a crew plugin as well, so you can run it as a kubectl plugin, then it needs, you need to probably be able to have a separate binary that does that. That's a little bit different, that sort of thing.
Got it. Thanks a lot for the advice. What I'll do is I'll also sit on it and think about it a bit more about what the pros and cons could be, and then maybe we can discuss this again. Or I mean, as for me, I think I'm mostly fine with separating this out into a new repo, but would like to prepare for what that means beforehand.
yeah.
Cool. That's it from my side. Thanks a lot.
No problem.
Great. Thanks, Gaurav.
Let's talk about the CI thing, Candace. Yeah, so it looks like looking at the log in Slack, it looks like, as you say, the problem is that the script doesn't skip the vendor directory if it exists. I'm just checking to see if can't remember if I have a vendor directory or not.
I don't actually see that in the prow log.
Yeah.
But there are a couple of other warnings that I guess I should ask about too.
Let me pop that and see. So that's the tests. So one of the things that I don't think we've ever talked too much about is how the verification scripts work. We do have a little bit of time, so it feels like it might be worth us talking through it, Rob.
Yeah.
Let me pop. No, that's the wrong.
I should also mention this is the very last thing on the agenda.
Yeah.
no one should feel any obligation to stay on the call for this. If you're interested, by all means.
Please
But
stay.
we're
But,
just
and if you would like us to talk about anything else, then also please feel free to mention. And we're happy to
Yeah.
talk about things. But this is like well, if everyone's here and we have a question about it, let's educate while we can. Okay. So we have this hack directory in sort of traditional Kubernetes fashion that just clearing my windows. That is where all of the scripts to do various types of CI bits that aren't well covered by anything else live. The one that actually gets run by Prowl is this verify all script, which basically all it does is go through this directory and find all of the .sh scripts that start with verify dash and run them. And so it'll run verify boilerplate, codegen, CRDs, Docker build, golint, reports, and YAML-int. And so the one that Candice is seeing problems with is running this YAML-int one, and this is literally just running a virtual env and then running the YAML-int command to check all of the YAML for various linting problems. Let me just checking to see. I don't think. Yeah, so I think for me, I actually don't have a vendor, a local vendor. So that would be why I think I use just I install the modules in the global module repository. And so that's why I haven't come across that issue that you're finding.
Well, that's just from running it locally.
From running locally, yes.
Yep.
Sorry, yep. But yeah, running on Prowl. Let's have another look at that log.
There's not a lot of information in the log. I think that's why I'm reaching out.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it looks like. Yeah, it looks like it in that, and then it's actually getting a success and then showing a failure, which is weird.
your text is really tiny for me. Is it possible you can
Right.
zoom in? So yeah, thanks.
So down here, we start that's verify reports is finished. We start running the YAML down to here. We install the packages, blah, blah, blah. And then it actually reports success for YAML-int.
Oh yeah. This is the most annoying thing about our verify all script is it runs everything even if something fails higher up.
Okay.
So something further
Here we
up
are.
like hack verify.
Here we are. That's the
Yeah.
problem. Yep. Back until file is not go imports.
Oh, sweet. That's actually an easier one to solve,
Yes.
but not at all easy to figure out.
Yes.
So go imports whatever nonsense is basically it wants all your local dependencies in one place and then empty line and then all your external dependencies.
Oh,
in
it's a
separate
formatting
Yeah,
issue.
it's the formatting of the imports that's the problem. And so yeah, to run Go imports, you need to download the Go imports tool and run it. And there's a -local flag that lets you specify what the local package is called, because the way the imports are supposed to be is standard library first, then local package, then non-local packages, I think.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and then so the local package is all of the ones that start with blah blah blah, Gateway API. And then those need to be in a separate section with then a blank line between them and all the other ones. Once you've
I
done
think
that,
I've run into that before in this code base.
It is the most unintuitive error message.
It
But
would
yeah,
be nice if it was level equals error on that. And
yeah.
if a level equals warning is something that breaks this, I think there are some other level equals warning issues in here that I'd like to just have us take a look at, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, so some of them are warnings because they're not critical. I think that one is actually, although it says warning, although these say warning, so those say warning because we're using something, but this is actually an error message. This one here is actually an error message, and that's why it fails.
I'd love to find a way to make this more intuitive. Yeah, I'm just thinking about how our verify all script works right now. If we could try and track basically the things that fail along the way, so at the very end we can echo out, like, because we exit with a return code of, basically, which is the sum of checks that failed. If we like had a string list of checks that failed and echoed that before we exit, that would help save many hours of debugging, I'm sure.
Yes.
Because it's not intuitive at all.
So it doesn't seem like that would be too hard to add. Do you want to do it, Rob, or should I?
I'll just add an issue. Anyone can take this one.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually a reasonable, good help wanted issue because because you don't need to know a lot about Gateway API to do it.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, that does remind me, speaking of things that you need to know a lot about Gateway API and things you don't, I should note, let me just find the links. But I updated 2 GEPs late afternoon, my time yesterday. So the first one is the cause one. I've put basically for both of these, I have put in a to-do list and marked it as good first issue now that it's got a reasonably detailed to-do list for this one and for auth. In both of the cases, the to-do list is currently fill out the create an initial provisional GEP set of files that are in provisional and fill out the introduction and background in the same way as that I did for timeouts and some other people have done for other issues. That is all allowed to happen at any time in the sort of the Gateway API development cycle. Just to be clear again, provisional stuff can go ahead at any time. You don't need to wait for GEP freezes for provisional stuff to go ahead. It may not get as an in-depth review from the core maintainers or from the GEP reviewers. It'll need some review because otherwise it doesn't get merged. But we're not going to wait for everybody to look at it in the provisional stage because the point is to just get things in reasonably quickly so that we can start talking about them, in a more in a more standardized way. And that's the point of the provisional stage. This early provisional stage is to get us all on the same page about exactly what we're trying to do with each of these issues. I'm going to go over a bunch of the other GEPs that are open and see if we can add see if there's more of these sort of to-do lists that we can add to make things easier.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks.
So with that, we are at the end of our agenda. Does anyone have anything else they'd like to talk about? Nope. Okay. Well, with that, let's call the meeting done. And I will see you all in a couple of weeks.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thanks
Bye,
very much,
everybody.
everybody.
Thank you.